Good evening and welcome to The Profile. My name is Gary Dunn and I'm your host. On this show we typically try and find out something about our guest that we didn't already know, and thanks to ProCopy we're able to bring you an insight into some of the more colourful members of the Perth music industry, and tonight no short of being a legend himself, Mr. John Goldsmith, who's probably employed most of the musicians in Perth, and we're all grateful for everything you've done, and also for providing us instruments to play.
Yeah.
So welcome, John. How are you tonight?
Yep, fantastic, Gary. Very, very happy to be here.
Thank you very much for coming in. I just want to start with where were you born?
Beautiful downtown Subiaco.
Yep.
Yep. Born there and then brought up in Hammy Hill.
Hammy Hill.
Yeah.
That's, I'll just shove on to another question. You're a drummer?
Yes.
And
yep.
You had a back shed in Hammy Hill, I think.
Yep.
And you're a bit of an electrician? Or
Yeah, that's kind of how everything started. It was, I was an electronics geek from about 10 or 11 years of age, and then played drums, when I left high school.
Yep.
And it was kind of, the mid to late 60s was when, rock music and electronics were kind of, synergising and integrating and all that sort of thing. So it was, it's kind of how it all came about.
So what legend has it, people came to you for PAs, to help them out, to get sound?
Yeah, I guess, when you're playing in a band, I mean, you're not always playing and you're not always rehearsing, and everybody knew that I was an electronics geek. So it's not like I decided to start a business. It was people just were coming along saying, hey, you know about this, can you build us a PA, can you fix my amplifier, what should I do? And so probably 2 or 3 years down the track, I'd done a lot of work for a lot of people, and of course only half of them paid you, so
nothing's changed, has it?
Nothing's changed. I was in a bit of debt, so I thought, I must be in business. So I had to go and borrow $3,000 to dig myself out of debt, and it took me 3 years to pay that off. Wow. So that was the beginning.
Yeah. So you called your shop Kosmic Sound?
Well, I mean, way back then in the early days, it was J&T Electronics.
J&T.
Yeah, very glamorous. It was, you probably know Tommy Galopoulos.
Yes.
Tom was the manager of our band at the time, and he said, well, you do all the work and I'll put some money in. And of course, when I lost the money, Tom, he was out the door with a tailwind sort of thing. And it wasn't until a year or so later that we kind of drummed up the name Kosmic.
Because I remember, like, 13-year-old, I think, 1973, and I came in, always wanted to buy a guitar. You had those Fenders on the wall. And from day one, you always had good products. So I think Billy Atkinson sold me a Sakai, because I couldn't obviously afford a Fender. But
So it's still a collector's item today, I guess.
Like, do you remember in the 70s setting up a band out of in front of Kosmic on Albany Highway? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Well, because we built a lot of PAs, even when we were in Aussie Park, I still, all the woodwork for the PAs was still done in Hammy Hill, because my cousin had the joinery store, and or joinery workshop, and he would build all the boxes, and then we had a little factory in O'Connor. We had a couple of guys working there that would paint the boxes or put vinyl on them and all this sort of thing. So we would set them up quite often on a Saturday. Could be just for the hell of it, because it was Albany Highway and it was pretty busy in those days. But it might be a band taking delivery of their PA, and I do remember Breakaway. With all those guys coming in, one Saturday, and we, to take delivery of the PA, to set the band up and check it out and make sure it was all right.
Put on a concert in the middle of Albany Highway.
Well, yeah. Didn't get into trouble for it in those days.
No, that's right. Now, you've always had a quirky way of advertising as well. I think, just experiencing working at Kosmic myself, and you've always sort of gone left of centre and done something different.
Yeah, it's what you got to do to get noticed. I think,
Yeah.
Hey John, it's too much gear and it's too cheap.
That's right, Pete, but we've taken 15 to 70% off most big brands in the store.
But it's too much. You'll never get rid of it.
At these prices we will, Pete. Cosmic's massive annual stock take clearance is on. Cosmic sales are always amazing and genuine, so rush in for bargains on guitars, keyboards, DJ, PA and drums.
That's it, John. I'm out of here.
But Pete, that's not a parachute, it's a keyboard bag.
So, being a drummer, what influenced you into music? What was the catalyst of
Well, I guess the first concert I ever went to was Bob Dylan. It was at the old Capitol Theatre in the city. It was probably 1964 or 5, somewhere around those. And I wasn't particularly a Bob Dylan fan at the time. I was just going out with a chick who was, and it actually worked better for me if I liked him as well. You know, to get my drift. But you know, I saw Big Pink was the band that was behind him, and the guy playing drums, I can't remember his name now, but knockout drummer and just very powerful. And it was probably a double effect, because it was, apart from the music aspect of it, it was also the first time I'd seen a big PA. And I walked away from that concert, I think, quite inspired and changed, you know, about you know, where I was going. Because at the time I was working for the old PMG in those days as a, you know, electronics geek.
So, and when Kosmic came, obviously took up a lot of your time. You had to digress from playing, obviously.
Yeah, well, in the early days, you know, I would gig, and you know, I had one employee. He would get to work long before I got out of bed, you know, and he'd get things going. And then, yeah, I don't think it wasn't so much Kosmic that put a stop to the playing. It was probably more, you know, getting married and having kids in the first place, and then trying to run the business, and that all didn't work. So it kind of went to one side. Although there is a funny story, because, you know, like we all do, when we sort of maybe finish our focus bands and the bands we're passionate about, I wanted to keep playing. So I got together with Russell Kennedy, John Hendricks, another John whose name just escapes me at the moment, and Basil Videlli, you know, Michael Videlli's old man. And we were playing some gigs around the place, and it was a lot of fun. But we played at the John Barleycorn Hotel in Nollamara, and for some reason Basil decided to sing Wooden Heart in Greek, and I went, I think it's time to walk away.
Oh, that's a funny story.
This is what it's come to.
So what was the first single you bought? Can you remember that?
Oh, no, I can't say that I do. I mean, you know, I was a Beatles baby, so it was probably a Beatles thing, I suspect, you know.
And like, how important do you think it is for kids to learn music?
Oh, look, it's crucially important. You know, I'm doing something that I'll probably tell you about a little bit later on that uses music to actually you know, help a lot of kids you know, find themselves. Because a lot of kids are lost these days. But there's been some studies in the US done and scientifically proved that listening to structured music or playing structured music actually helps spatial mathematics. So that I mean, that's structured music and spatial mathematics were the way that they did it. So, you know, listening to Akka Dakka won't actually help you do algebra, but
no, I've always been good at maths, so I've always loved music, so I don't know if that's...
Well, you know, music is mathematics, isn't it?
Maybe
really?
What you say.
Yeah.
So when you started Kosmic, there was one employee?
Yes, way back then.
And I think when I first discovered Kosmic, that was, you know, something unreal for me to see. You've always had really good brands in your shop and all that sort of stuff, so it really excited me. But and it just grew and grew and grew. And to how many people do you employ nowadays? I know you got up to quite a few at one time.
It was probably 75 or 80 at you know, at the when it was. You know, a gigantic thing a few years back. We're probably down to sub 30 now. It's just a sign of the times and what it is. And
How do you? Well, okay, in retail, and how do you think the internet has affected even music retail or any retail?
Well, you know, obviously it's globalised retail.
Yes.
So it's very difficult now because. Not everybody understands international currencies and you know, how equipment has got to be imported into countries via distributors who have to fund it, who have to support it, and all that sort of thing. So you know, you know, these days someone can go online, they can see something in the US, in US dollars, and they'll walk in the store and go, well, I can see this for $100 in the US, how come it's $200 here?
Yeah.
And you can sit down and explain it to them, and you know, most of the time they'll go, okay, and they'll buy it because they don't really want to bring it in and not have it supported and that sort of thing. But you know, it's challenging, very challenging. But you know, it is what it is. It's not going to change.
Yes.
The customer has the right to expect the best deal.
Yep.
So it's up to us as retailers
Absolutely.
to find the way, find the answer.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Who was the best salesperson you've ever had?
I probably am, because I'm still selling now. You thought I was going to say you, didn't you?
No, I'm worried about the next question. Who was the worst?
Oh, look, the list is long and distinguished. Let's leave
you're
it
too
at
kind.
that.
You're too kind. So, like, you've been involved in putting sound systems, PAs, whatever, in lots of different venues, restaurants, and what would be the best live venue you would have thought Perth ever had?
Well, I guess during the rental days was the heyday of all of the big beer barns and all those sorts of things. And, you know, you had, you know, the Overflow, you had the Hurdy, there was the Generator, was the Dianella, I can't remember. It was probably just
that was a Generator, I think. Oh, no, Dianella, that was Morley.
Morley, yeah. But, you know, I think of them all. The iconic one is the Raffles.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it just the number of bands that went through there, the length of time that it was in operation was quite incredible. And you know, we lumped a lot of PAs in there during our days of concert production.
Yeah,
and so that's.
You obviously big name tours. You supply a lot of equipment for acts and things like that. What would have been the biggest name probably, and also did you have those emergency calls at 9 o'clock at night when the shop was shut saying, we need...
There's a few of those, but you know, in the 70s and 80s touring time, I mean, it was everybody. It was, I mean, probably I think my first live concert was the Rolling Stones. Yeah. In 1973 at the Wacker. And it was before you sold tickets, you lined up at the ticket box.
That's right.
And from memory, I think it was probably $10. Yeah. And they paid it over. And Johnny Worrell, and I'm not sure whether it was Fatty Lumpkin was the support band, but we pulled all of our PA together, and the other PA company in town at the time was Pervisonic Sound, and we borrowed everything that they had as well, and we dragged it all and put it together in the middle of the Wacker, and it was a great concert, and they did it in the middle of the afternoon because nobody had any lights. So it was pretty different to when you see Adele the other day and see the production that was around that. To what that was in 1973, and look where it's come from. It's quite incredible.
Would that have been an AJ thing at that time?
No, that was pre-AJ. That was...
Bob, didn't you work for Bob?
No, that was... in those days, I mean, I think the guy's name was Phil Blackmore. Phil Blackmore worked for us, and he was Ron Blackmore's brother who worked for Paul Dainty. And that's kind of how come it all came about. Because the Rolling Stones on that tour stayed at the White Sands Hotel, and it must have been the beginning of the tour because
5-star White Sands.
Well, it's near the beach. They probably needed a bath being British. But they borrowed gear to rehearse the tour, and we had to take all the gear out and set up in their hotel room, and got to chat a little bit, sort of to thing. But I mean, they weren't the icons then that they are today, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Kosmic also has leapt again sideways, and you've got a wholesale company called Kosmic Galactic. And your son Paul runs that.
Very proud of Paul. He's running that business, and we're distributing a few nice brands. Currently distributing Peavey. I'm heading off. I've never been to Mississippi, so I'm heading off on Friday to go to their factory and for 3 days of chatting about what's next for Peavey.
And that's another exciting thing about the industry you're in, isn't it? Like going to NAMM every January, meeting you know, everyone and anyone. And
well, it's been the secret really has been, you know, over those years to go to those shows and just be, you know, you sort of get a very clear picture of what's going to happen in the year ahead. You know? So,
and you've always been very generous with your charity and stuff like that. I know that for a fact. And so now you're involved in is it the John Lennon bus? And could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, the John Lennon Educational Tour Bus is an organisation based in New York that Yoko is the patron for, and of course she owns all of John's branding.
Yes.
And Brian Rothschild is the executive director. It was Brian's idea. It's been going for 20 years out of New York and goes around America. You know, really sort of taking not just music but the whole production facility to people. I was in a conversation with, I got introduced to Brian in January 16, so a little bit over a year ago. And in that conversation, you know, he turned around and said to me, well, why don't you, you know, take the John Lennon bus to Australia? And, you know, I smart-assly said, well, have you got a spare bus, Brian? He went, I do.
So he sent a bus over for you?
Well, he hasn't yet, but, you know, because it costs a lot of money to bring this bus. They've got a bus in Europe. But what I have done so far is that we managed to talk Qantas, who generously flew the guys out from New York.
Wow.
And a couple of months ago we went on a tour of the Northwest because, you know, in Australia there's a lot of disadvantaged communities and none greater than the Indigenous population of the North. And so that's where we thought we would start. And we've got some people now in this country that are, you know, supporting it. Senator Glenn Sterle has been very helpful. You know Robbie Williams.
Yes,
Robbie
absolutely.
Introduced me to Glenn, and Glenn has been amazing in putting this together.
Wow.
And he has introduced, you know, Brian around the place, and we've even got Chuggy now and Mark Pope who have jumped on board. More than likely what will end up happening is that Chuggy will probably head up the organisation.
Wow.
So we're sort of at the point of trying to raise money. We'll get pledges at the moment to put this thing together because you're not going to bring the bus to Australia for a month. It's got to come for 3 to 5 years, and there's a lot of money involved in doing that. But I think when you look at the music business, a lot of people see the artist and they don't realise that there's the producer, there's the audio engineer, the video engineer, you know, now there's app developers, there's all sorts of people behind it. So this bus is a, you know, it's a very, very high-end studio. The Black Eyed Peas used the bus to produce their last album. So it's that level. So
it's worth a few dollars, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, $2 million the bus is worth. And the reason the guys came out here was to take a look around the Northwest and just see what the conditions are that they're going to have to work in, and meet some of the people and look at the challenges some of the people are having up there. And you know, in the Kimberley, there's some very sad stories of, you know, 10-year-old kids, you know, just feeling that life's not worth living and taking their own lives, you know. And if we can do something to stop that or slow it down, and show them, you know, that there is some exciting stuff to be done out here, but then also use music. A lot of these kids have got problems and they won't speak, but if you put an instrument in their hands, they'll sing, and when they sing, they'll sing about their problems, and that helps them. And
wow, music's a great leveler, isn't it?
Incredible. Incredible.
Fantastic. So you mentioned Qantas for getting involved, and can you tell us about your love of planes? Because I know you did a lot of work getting your license, your pilot's license, and flying pretty big planes.
Well, it's probably like a lot of things in my life. You know, they're passions that get a bit out of control. I mean, Kosmic was just a passion that got a bit out of control, you know, and I got a few of them. And the aviation actually came about at the time when we were in the production business, and business had gone through a fairly difficult time, and I'd always, I wanted to fly, so I went out and flying kind of reinvigorated me, re-enthused me, gave me a reason to sort of, to get up in the morning and what, it sort of, it grew, and I was able to use the, once I could fly, I was able to use the license to fly out to Kalgoorlie and places like that to maybe sell some stuff. Yeah. And then there was quite a number of bands that would play in Geraldton, Kalgoorlie, Esperance, Albany. And at that time I was flying a little twin, so the crew could drive the truck, and the band could live the glamorous life of rock stars, and we'd fly in the afternoon, walk in for the sound check, and most of the time we'd stay overnight and get up the next morning. I'd haul them all out of bed because I needed to be back at work, and we'd fly back. It was I built a lot of hours doing that sort of thing, where everyone would share the costs and that, so that was kind of helpful to me to build my hours of twin-engine aeroplanes, and eventually got me to fly some heavy twins for some small airlines, and had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I remember you showing me a cockpit of one of the planes you were flying.
Yeah. Nice office to work in.
Were you good on the air hostesses, or was it? Was it always all right?
They were good.
They were good?
They were good. Yeah. No, I got to say the chief pilot at Network Aviation had a good eye.
So okay, I'll stop that. Now you're back playing drums. So tell me a bit about who you're playing with now and what you're doing, because I know you're doing a few gigs and stuff.
I came about 4 years ago. Just some people that worked at Department of Sport and Rec. A guy called Simon Beaumont, who's announcer on PR again these days, was good friends with my son-in-law Mark Gale. And he'd called Mark and said, you're the only one who can play drums, we've just got this gig. And so we got together for one gig, and 4 years later we're playing. There's 6 of us, and we have a lot of fun. And I was never a particularly good drummer. So I've gone back and gone to Vinnie Career and taken a few lessons, and I'm definitely a better drummer I am today than I was way back then. Yeah,
Vinnie's a very patient drum teacher.
Oh, he's fantastic, but he's a hard ass,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he just says, what is it about slow down you don't know? Slow down.
We've got a Gobbles reunion coming up again with the night after with Ben. He was there for 9 years. And
great guy, very passionate.
Yeah, excellent. And so how important is it, just generally in music, to make that bond in life? I mean, you meet lots of really nice people, musicians of all walks of life, and do you feel like that's something that's made your life more exhilarating than it possibly would have been, or is it?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's I don't quite know how you put words on that, but it's a fraternity when you play. There's an understanding, that you have with people, that people that don't play don't get or can't get.
Well, you said you weren't a good drummer, but I remember when we did a charity thing. I think it was with Zach and a whole pile of guys from Cosmic. I can't remember what that charity thing was, but was it competition or?
No, I think
we got in a
that
butt.
One.
We got in that limo and.
Yeah, that was the boardroom blitz.
The boardroom blitz.
We were trying to raise money for PMH.
Yeah, that's days, right. Raising money.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only time I think I played with you, and you didn't play badly then. So.
I'm solid and simple. In drums as well as in life.
So music has been a great revelation on people with dementia as well.
Yes.
So it helps to sort of untap their memories and all that sort of stuff. So it's just an all-round, for school children, for anyone really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it, like we said before, it has a positive effect on your mathematic ability. Yeah. My youngest daughter, started playing piano at 6, and I did see her maths improve dramatically in school when she did that. And as you say, people with dementia, you put them in choirs, and you can see them improve and stuff like that. And one would hope that by continuing to play, whether it be guitar, keyboard, drums, that you starve off some of the unfortunate things that beset a lot of people.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That guy on The Voice, I think a year or two ago, stuttered every time he talked, but when he sang, not one stutter. And
yeah, well,
there's
there's been a few West Australian musicians like that.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, what other jobs have you done apart from, I mean, obviously the Kosmic thing, and is there something different that you've done that we don't know about?
For in the early days of playing in the band, I got a job in a leather tanning factory because I was having to trim the edges off the leather, but after a week I was trimming a bit too much off because I didn't want to cut my bloody fingers, so I got the sack. And I worked as a pilot for 10 years for an airline, which was fantastic fun. Get up at 3:30 in the morning and to be able to do it and then get back to work.
Yeah.
That was great. And electronics technician in my very early life. But I don't think I've ever had a real job. Yeah. It's all been things that have been very passionate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And obviously you might not have had time to watch TV. You were so busy. What was your favourite TV show growing up?
Oh, wow. Growing up? I don't think I've grown up yet.
Still working it out.
Yeah, still working that out. Oh, wow. I mean, we didn't have a TV when I was little. We used to look forward to Friday nights going across the road to some neighbours who had a TV, and I think if I was sort of okay, I could actually stay up and watch The Untouchables, so that was all pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Chicago and Machine Guns and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And what unfulfilled ambitions? Any at all? Are you happy with what's happened? And
yeah, very happy with what's happened.
Anything you want to try?
Yeah, I'm just last term I started learning Italian.
Oh, wow.
I'd like to be able to speak Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look out, Italy, when John comes over there. Do you collect anything, John?
That was the thing the line that I heard someone steal. Yeah, it was the memories is the thing I think that. No, I've never been a great collector. I mean, had a few ex-wives, but I haven't managed to. You don't end up collecting them.
Can you tell me a little bit about maybe your marriage counselling business?
Yeah. Oh, that's another story. No, like the collection of memories that I have over the time of all the things in every aspect of the business, in playing, in travel, is just in relationship. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely
and
incredible.
I think you've had a massive effect on everyone in the town. You've employed a lot of musicians, and we had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
After the gig, we're going to get a job at Kosmic.
Yeah, that's right.
And you let us in the door and said, you can work here.
Yeah.
Let us less on your customers.
Well, I think in where are we now? In about 2 years' time is a 50th anniversary.
Wow.
And it's in my mind to try and put the word out and see if we can't get, there'd be several hundred people that could get together somewhere.
Absolutely.
And that would just be a lot of fun.
Even if you got a big band.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were stuck on a deserted island, right?
Yeah.
You had a week to think about what album you'd take. What would you listen to?
Oh, man. I think I would have to actually make a compilation. My taste is so diverse. From, I'm a great lover of bands like Queen. There's some early Beatles stuff that had some effect on me. But by the same token, I can get on a Sunday morning and put Pavarotti on and Nosson Dorman or something like that, and just I can't sing to save my life, but if there's no one around, I will.
So the band you're in now, what sort of music are you doing? What genre?
Oh, party rock.
Yeah.
Just popular stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of Aussie 80s type stuff.
Yeah.
But we'll have a crack at a lot of things.
Yeah.
Done a bit of U2 stuff just lately, which has been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always good learning new songs and.
Yeah.
What would you put on your gravestone, John?
He gave it a bloody good shot.
Good on you, mate.
Yeah.
Like, I really appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
And it's just wonderful to see you. And thank you for
likewise.
everything you've done for the Perth music industry.
Oh, pleasure, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Well, that's it from us again. Look, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that will let you know when our next episode is, and give us a thumbs up and join the team. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.
She makes me laugh, she makes me cry, with a twinkle of her eye. But she flies like a bird in the sky. She flies like a bird, and I wish that she was mine. She flies like a bird, oh me, oh my, I see her sigh. Now I know I can't let Maggie go. We walk here and we walk there. People stop and people stare, but she flies like a bird in the sky. She flies like a bird, and I wish that she was mine. She flies like a bird, oh me, oh my, I see her sigh. Now I know I can't let Maggie go. Oh, she flies like a bird in the sky. She flies like a bird, and I wish that she was mine. She flies like a bird.